Welcome to Everyday Enlightenment. I'm your host, Patty Teal. I'm coming to you today from gorgeous Sedona Mago Retreat, 190 acres surrounded by red rocks near Sedona, Arizona. My guest today is Rip Esselstyn, founder of Engine 2, which is based on his best-selling book, The Engine 2 Diet, which shows the irrefutable connection between a plant-based diet and good health. Rip was born in upstate New York, raised in Cleveland, and educated at the University of Texas at Austin, where he was a 3-time All-American swimmer. That's very impressive. After graduation, Rip spent a decade as one of the premier triathletes in the world. He then joined the Austin Fire Department, where he introduced his passion for a whole food, plant-based diet to Austin's Engine 2 firehouse in order to rescue a firefighting brother's health. To document his success, he wrote the national best-selling book, The Engine 2 Diet. He eventually left his job as a firefighter in 2009, teaming up with Whole Foods as one of their healthy eating partners to raise awareness for Whole Foods employees, customers, and communities about the benefits of eating a plant-strong diet. As the founder of Engine 2, Rip develops and implements a range of programs and events geared toward education, inspiring and nurturing plant-strong living for individuals, families, and organizations across the globe. And he has a brand new book, which he'll probably tell us about too. Welcome, Rip.
Thank you very much, Patty.
I am really honored to have you, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about a plant-based diet. How did you ever come up with this in the first place?
I wouldn't say that I came up with it. I would say that many other people, right, have been eating a plant-based diet for a long time. And, the gentleman who really inspired me to kind of go down this path was my father and his groundbreaking, really revolutionary work at the Cleveland Clinic, which is one of the most amazing heart hospitals in the world. And in 1984, he started this research to show that we as human beings, we never need die of heart disease. It's really a food-created disease of our own making, and that just by eating a whole food plant-based diet that's really where you're focused in on fruits, vegetables, whole intact grains, beans, limited amounts of nuts and seeds, no added oils. You're getting all your fat and all your oil from the whole food. So from the olive, from the oats, from the from the avocado, whatever it is, right? I mean, there's fat in every food. You're getting everything you need in spades. That you can actually metabolize away these plaque formations that in some of us have been building up since the ages of 3 and 4.
Wow, that early? That's just terrible.
Oh yeah. They've done extensive studies on unfortunate children that have died in accidents and other things. And they have the fatty lesions, the beginnings of atherosclerosis, as early as age 3 and 4. So this is not a disease that just sneaks up on you when you're, 38, 39, 40, 41. Each and every one of us works very, very hard our whole lives for breakfast, lunch, and dinner to acquire this disease. But so my father really inspired me to really take a hard look at this lifestyle, starting in 1987. After I graduated from the University of Texas at Austin.
Wow, that is really fascinating. I mean, personally, this really hits home for me because my father had a heart attack when I was only 8 years old. He was never really the same. Both my brothers have had quadruple bypass surgery. So what you're saying, though, is even if there's a genetic predisposition, you can still reverse the problems that have been forming since you were a child.
Absolutely. My father has proof of concept for this going back to like 1987. He's documented it dozens and dozens of times. He's been written up in 7 different of the peer-reviewed scientific literature. You also have Nathaniel Pritikin that was able to show it. You have Dean Ornish on the West Coast that has been able to show it. So it's out there. It's out there. Unfortunately, most cardiologists aren't aware of it, or if they are aware of it, it's a serious conflict of interest for them, especially monetarily, right? When I can put a stent in there and get $50,000 or we can do a bypass procedure and make about $120,000. Or he can charge you for an office visit and tell you to go home and eat brown rice, black beans, oatmeal, and mangoes and watermelons. And that's unfortunately most doctors, not just cardiologists, but most doctors, they're not eating this way themselves. They don't know the nutrition. They didn't get any in medical school. And so unfortunately, they are just as nutritionally illiterate as most Americans walking around today. And if you look at the standard American diet, it's close to 60% is coming from processed and refined foods that are a hollow shell of their former selves. They have no fiber, limited amounts of vitamins, minerals, none of these protective substances called antioxidants and phytonutrients. That's 60%. Another 30% is coming from animal-based products, meat and dairy products that, again, are really a inferior food on so many levels, have so many of the building blocks that promote disease, whether it's dietary cholesterol, saturated fat, weak, problematic animal protein. The list goes on and on and on. All kinds of, carnitine, growth hormones, antibiotics. It just goes on. And then only 10% is coming from plants, and believe it or not, half that's coming from French fried potatoes. So only 5% of America's calories are coming from fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and beans, which we know are not only the strongest food out there, but also have the most protective characteristics about them. So no wonder, right? Unfortunately, what your father, had a heart attack and was never the same. Your two brothers had, whatever you said, quadruple bypass.
Yes.
Right? I mean, this is not unusual. I mean, almost every family in America has been riddled with these diseases. Like my grandfather had his first heart attack when he was 42, right?
And my husband had cardiac arrest, so I'm just have heart problems all around me, but it's fascinating that even if you've gone down the wrong road, that this can be reversed. I think that's so good.
You're right. And that is probably the most exciting thing, is that never too late. You can reverse this disease. It doesn't matter how far, gone you are. That's what my father has showed again and again and again. Trying to remember what your original question was. I think it was.
How did you come up with it? I think, but why though? It's so beneficial. I mean, why are they so strong for us? Is that just what humans were meant to be eating, and we got off track somewhere?
Well, the thing is that the deep dive in nutrition, where all the glory lives, is in plants. This is where everything originates from. This is like the primordial mother source of all that's good, whether it's proteins, carbohydrates, essential fatty acids, fiber, phytonutrients, antioxidants. All these things you're going to find in spades in whole, and I put a real emphasis on whole, so as close to grown as possible, minimally processed. So, for example, there's all these new vegan plant-based foods that are out there. These, Beyond Meat burgers and diet cheeses and Earth Balance spreads that are all basically just crap, which means calorie rich and processed, right? And for calorie rich and processed. But this is, if animal products have anything that's beneficial, they either directly or indirectly got it from plants. So, for example, animals get all their protein from plants, either directly or indirectly. The lion gets it from the antelope, and the antelope gets it from the grass. So bypass the middle cow, the middle pig, the middle sheep, the middle turkey, and just go straight to the mother source for everything.
Now, I know you have a new book. Is it called the Engine 2 7-Day Rescue Diet? Do I have that?
It is. And I actually have a copy right here. That's what it looks like. Right there, you can see it. And it's really what it is. It's an accelerated, much more powerful version of Engine 2, my original book, where we take the screws and we tighten everything down. We kind of batten the hatches, and we're trying to get the maximum impact in the shortest period of time when it comes to losing weight, when it comes to bringing down cholesterol levels, when it comes to really reversing the disease processes that have been going on in many people for decades and decades. And, and we've done a lot of this work at the Mago Retreat Center. And I think we've had now over 600 people do a 7-day kind of rescue retreat there, and with phenomenal results, phenomenal results.
That's really great. So actually in 7 days, you're saying only one little small week, you can actually make a lifetime difference in your health. Of course, if you continue eating well.
One little small week, you can test drive this lifestyle, and you can see for yourself what will happen with your internal biochemistry, right? This is your opportunity to take a selfie of your insides before you do it. Maybe you've got a baseline for LDL, HDL, triglycerides, fasting glucose, total cholesterol, and then you can do it again 7 days later and go, whoa, I'm dropping all my numbers 25%, 30%. I lost 10 pounds. I'm having to get off my medications because the food is that darn powerful and strong. And that's why we have a medical director there for the week to help titrate people down off their medications. But I wrote the book so that people didn't have to make this journey, right, to Sedona to experience this. They can experience it from their own homes with their busy lives, where they're dropping off their kids at soccer practice or band practice, or have their life at the dental office or the hospital or at the school. And we really we're trying to meet people where they are with their busy lives. And the recipe section isn't really indicative of that. It's all about building these super simple, creative, personalized bowls where you throw in kind of what you like, and you put in a foundational ingredient, and then you put in different toppings and sparks. And then, for example, like with a breakfast, and then you pick what you want to hose it down with, whether it's almond milk, oat milk.
That's cute, coming from a firefighter. Yes.
Well, that's how we do it in the book, right?
Yeah.
We then say hose it down.
Mm-hmm.
And we've discovered that people love the whole bowl concept, where you do a little bit of batch cooking on a Saturday or Sunday, and then you have all your foundational ingredients for the week, like your rice or your beans or your potatoes or your polenta. And then everything else, you kind of add on items. You can throw it in the microwave, then put on some other items that don't need to be heated up, and you can literally make every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, in less than 10 minutes.
Wow, I love that bowl concept too, because I would have thought that you had to be on some sort of a fasting diet for those 7 days, but people are actually eating healthy ingredients and they're having these benefits, right?
It's so funny you say, yeah, you thought that you'd be fasting.
Uh-huh.
Listen, we are doing anything but fasting. I mean, as you probably know, being at the Mago Resort or Retreat Center, no, people are eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, mounds and mounds and mounds of all you can eat, bountiful buffets, that stretch 50 yards practically. This is about stuffing your face and then filling up your body with all these amazing substances.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry that you're sold out. And I forgot to mention the most important thing. You are coming back to Sedona Mago Retreat October 2nd through the 8th for the Engine 2 immersion. But this one...
but we will be taking signups
soon
for 2018. I know it's a long ways out, but yes.
Yeah, this sounds so wonderful. And I wanted to ask about 7 pillars of the 7-day rescue diet, or have you already covered that?
No, I haven't covered it. So there's 7 simple pillars that I ask people to follow for the 7 short days. And my promise to you is that if you're willing to be compliant and follow these 7 rules, you will get results that that you thought were impossible, that you only dreamed about. So the first one it's very simple. It's why we want to focus in entirely on plants. And as I told you earlier, Patty, this is where the true deep dive in nutrition lives. This is where all the glory exists. And so we want to focus in on plants for everything, for our protein, our carbohydrates that fuel all our 50 trillion cells, for our essential fatty acids that we need, but instead of getting 25 to 35% of our calories from fat. Now it's going to be more like 10 to 15, which is lower, and it's actually entirely more healthy for us. We're going to be getting all of our vitamins, all of our minerals, all of our phytonutrients, antioxidants, and fiber from plants. So that's number one, why we love plants, and we're going to focus entirely on them. No dairy, no animal products, no processed refined foods. Pillar number two is why we love whole plant-based foods. So as we briefly mentioned earlier, that diet cheese, that Oreo cookie, those French fries, that piece of Ben and Jerry's, ice cream, it can all be vegan, but vegan doesn't mean that it's healthy. It can actually be just as unhealthy as anything else that's out there. So we're really focusing in on whole plant-based foods, as close to grown as possible, that have the totality of everything intact, right? So all your protein, your carbs, your fats, vitamins, minerals, everything I just said earlier. So that's pillar number two. And then pillar number three is, and this is a big one, especially in today's society, why we don't want to drink our calories. So why we want to chew all of our calories this week. The problem is that, Patty, the vast majority of Americans, they're drinking close to 25 to 50% of their daily calories. They're drinking it.
Wow.
Whether it's, their coffee in the morning with sugar and creamer, whether it's their, soy maca cappuccino, whether it's their soda pop, whether it's their green smoothie or their juice, or whether it's their iced tea or their alcoholic beverage to unwind at night, or their protein shake because they somehow feel they're deficient in protein. And the reality is most people are drinking over 1,000 calories a day. And the problem is our brains and our stomachs don't register these calories as calories. And you will invariably eat the same amount of solid food on top of any liquid calories you consume. So we're only drinking water, like the other 99% of the mammals on the planet.
Only water. Wow. Can you add some lemon or some other things like that?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you want to do coffee, we just want you to make sure it's black. And then the same thing with tea. If you want to do tea, just make sure you're not adding any sugar to it. Okay? So that's pillar number three. Any questions on that?
No, that's pretty clear. I'm taking notes, though, just so I can do this. Yeah.
All right. And I forgot to ask you, any questions on pillar number one or two?
No, I think you explained that very, very well. But
okay, so just to review in 15 seconds, pillar number one, why we love plants. Pillar number two, why we love whole plants. Pillar number three is why we want to make sure we're always chewing our calories this week. And pillar number four is, and this is really a big one, it's why we care about calorie density. So we're eating whole plant-based foods, but within that space, we need to make sure we're eating the foods that are more calorie light and nutrient dense, as opposed to the ones that have a lot of overt fats in them and are a little bit more processed. So for example, this week we are limiting people to half an avocado a day, because avocados are they're 80% fat, and it's easy to overdo those. Not doing olives this week. We're not doing even tofu or tempeh this week. And the only nuts that we want people doing are walnuts, because they're so anti-inflammatory in nature. But all the other nuts, almonds, pistachios, cashews, you name it, we're not going there. These are little fat bombs. One small handful is about 180 to 200 calories, and you will successfully sabotage any weight loss or health goals you have if you are noshing on 3 or 4 or 5 handfuls of nuts a day, right? Same thing with nut butters. We're not doing nut butters this week, right? They're 3,000 calories roughly a pound, and that's a real problem. Same thing with oils. All added oils, they're 4,000 calories a pound. So we're not doing any oil, coconut, safflower, sunflower, olive, none of these. We want to go straight to the source. So, right, if you want some fat from corn, get it from corn. If you want some fat from, soybeans, get it from edamame. If you want some fat from this week in particular, we're not doing olives, but, get it from, instead of avocado oil, have a little bit of avocado. Instead of walnut oil, we're going to get it from walnuts. Now, that being said, so what's so wonderful about calorie density is that vegetables on average are 100 calories a pound. 100. Do you remember what oil is? 4,000.
Oh, wow.
Look at the difference. It's a 40-fold difference between really vegetables and any oil. 40-fold difference.
Wow.
Green leafy vegetables on average are about 60 calories a pound. Potatoes are about 350 calories a pound. Your average fruit is about 250 calories a pound. Your average bean, your legumes, your split peas, your lentils, your black beans, those are about 550 calories a pound. And then you have your whole intact grains like brown rice and barley and rye and stuff like that, quinoa, that are about 600 calories a pound. Pasta is about 600 calories a pound. So we don't have any problems with these foods because they're all roughly 600 calories a pound or less. We're hardwired as human beings to consume between 3 to 5 pounds of food a day, and you're focusing in on all these foods that I'm going to say are above the red line: fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and beans, and pasta. Yeah. You almost cannot gain weight. However, if you're eating foods below the line, you're doing avocados and nuts and seeds and a lot of bread, right? We don't mind bread, but we want you to limit it to one open-faced sandwiches, so one piece at lunch or something like that. Bread's about 1,500 calories a pound, but bread and nuts and seeds and processed oils, that's a real problem, right? It's way easy. It's easy to overdo it. And if you look at the standard American diet, and we talked about that in the very beginning of the show, 60% of America's calories are coming from processed and refined foods that on average are 1,800 to 2,800 calories a pound. And then you look at like your average meat and dairy products are 1,200 to 2,000 calories a pound. And you look at like Oreo cookies that are right around 2,000 calories a pound. No wonder 75% of Americans are overweight or obese.
No wonder. Right.
We're hardwired to eat this many pounds of food a day, right? 3 to 5 pounds of food a day. And if you're focusing in on these foods, you cannot do anything but gain weight. And then when it's time for you to lose weight, the only way for you to do it is to either cut portions, manage calories, count points, which is no fun at all.
Not fun at all, no.
You want to eat a reckless amount of wonderful and delectable plant-strong foods.
A reckless amount, I love that.
Yeah. Then you want to know the calorie density of the foods you're eating. And after you do it for a couple of days, you realize that, you know what? I don't have to ever count a calorie again. I don't have to ever, worry about portion control, right? I mean, just to put it in perspective for you, most Americans consume between 2,000, or you're supposed to roughly 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day. Okay. If you were to focus in just on, let's say, watermelons, you could eat 21 pounds of watermelon, and that would give you 2,500 calories. You could eat 10 pounds of potatoes, and that would give you 2,500 calories. You could do almost 10 pounds of corn off the cob, and that gives you 2,500 calories. You could do 40 pounds of cabbage, and it gives you 2,500 calories. Or you could do 1.5 pounds of French fries, right? Gives you 2,500 calories. Or you could do 1 pound of nuts, gives you 2,500 calories. Or you could do 1.5 pounds of ham sandwiches. So it's a complete game changer when it comes to how you look at the amount of food you can eat. Are you eating, if you're focusing on calorie light food that is nutrient dense, has bulk and capacity, and has all of its fiber intact, it's a game changer. And also all these foods that are above the red line in my book, they have 3 things. They have fiber, they have water, and they have a lot of bulk en masse.
So this is very life-changing. After people are immersed in this diet for a week, they probably never eat the same again. I mean, and are satisfied and can eat a lot. That's amazing.
Amazing. It's amazing. It's transformational on so many levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, we're almost out of time, Rip, but I know, could you really quickly, because I think we didn't hear the last couple pillars, so I don't want to leave.
Yeah. Let me talk about the last. So pillar number 5 is why we don't care a flying fig about protein, right? And that's because protein exists in all plant-based foods in the perfect quantity, and nobody in this country never needs to worry about being protein deficient. It is a
myth.
It's a boogeyman. It's a red herring, and there's really no basis in it. As long as you're consuming enough calories, you're getting all the protein you need. You know, as human beings, we only need between 5 to 10% of our calories coming from protein. Much more than that, we either pee it away or we store it as fat. So it does us no benefit to get more than roughly 10% of our calories from protein. And your average plant-based food, like vegetables, are on average 25% protein, whole intact grains, 14%, green leafy vegetables, 35 to 50% protein. Your average fruit, 6.5% protein. The short and long of it is you can't blow it. Can't blow it, right? How many protein deficient silverback gorillas have you seen, or giraffes, or hippos, or elephants, right?
Good
they get
point.
all the protein they need in complete proteins from plants. So don't let anybody tell you otherwise, even your cardiologist or your pediatrician or whoever, because unfortunately they're not up on the latest when it comes to nutrition and plants.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah.
So pillar number 6 is why we got to limit salt, sugar, and fat. If you don't know how to read a label, you're like a pig being led to slaughter, because all these packaged, boxed, and canned goods on the grocery store shelves are teeming, and I mean teeming, in salt, sugar, and fat. They put salt on top of sugar on top of fat to get you addicted to their products so you become a repeat buyer. So I have 3 simple label reading guidelines for salt, sugar, and fat that I ask people to follow. Once you learn how to read a label, you'll be able to look at it. Sodium, how many different types of sugar are there in the ingredient list, and then what percentage calories are coming from fat. Are there any animal fats, any hydrogenated oils? You can do that in about 15 seconds, and then you will become a ninja reading label warrior, and you'll never be fooled again.
All right.
So number 7 is why we want to move. A little bit of exercise goes a long way. Sitting has become the new smoking. Look what we're doing right now. We're sitting on our butts, and most Americans are sitting all day long, every day, and it's become the new smoking. So we want you to move, even if it's just 5 to 10 minutes a day. It goes a long way for mental health. It's the best antidepressant out there. For brain health, to help prevent, a little bit of Alzheimer's. For muscular health, to help prevent something called sarcopenia, which is the wasting away of muscle mass as we age over the age of 30. It's for bone health. It is for cardiovascular health. It is for just health in general. So I will tell you that eating plant strong is king. A little bit of exercise is queen. Combine the two, and you have a hearty, amazing, healthy kingdom.
Gosh, thank you so much for being on this podcast and radio show today. Rip, you've just blown me away with all the information. I'm going to listen back to it myself and take notes. It's just fascinating. And is there a website that people can go to?
Simple. engine2.com.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Patty, thank you so much.
I'm going to go walking after this, and I'm changing my Okay, bye now.
Bye. Peace. Engine 2.
All right.
All right.